Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 94. Without any delay, start explanation. Feng Wuyu held Tang Wulin up anxiously, his right hand pressed onto his student's chest as he poured soul power into him. A scorching energy purified Tang Wulin's meridians, setting his body at ease. However, the fatigue remained. You overdrafted your energy and might have injured your core. Just what is going on with you? People are usually as lively as a dragon when they break through, but you... Feng Wuyu eyed Tang Wulin, his gaze peppered with doubt. You look like you're about to die. Tang Wulin forced out a bitter smile. Teacher, I'm hungry. Can you get me some food? I'll be fine once I've got something in my stomach. Food? Okay, let's go to the dining hall then. Feng Wuyu helped Tang Wulin up. Do you have some spare clothes? Or do you plan on going to the dining hall but naked? He whipped out a new set of clothes from his storage ring and put them on in response. Absorbing his teacher's soul power had made him feel significantly better. But that didn't mean he wasn't tired. This time, he didn't struggle at all when Feng Wuyu dashed off with him in tow, lacking the strength to do so. The dining hall had yet to close this evening. Feng Wuyu deposited Tang Wulin at a table and returned with food a moment later. Tang Wulin's eyes lit up at the sight of food. Unable to hold himself back any longer, he began stuffing his mouth. This was all for a good cause though. The third seal's tenacious nature exceeded the previous two's, forcing Tang Wulin to go through a long battle before breaking it and absorbing the essence of the Golden Dragon King within. That same essence fused with his own blood essence, spreading to every corner of his body. Moreover, by the time he finished absorbing the power, his blood essence was depleted. As a result, he felt as if he had been starved for a month. Feng Wuyu had happily brought Tang Wulin food. He took joy in the simple sight of Tang Wulin devouring everything he had brought and even wanted to praise his disciples' eating prowess. 20 minutes later, however, his bright expression melted away into unadulterated shock. It was his first time witnessing Tang Wulin eat, his first time realizing what it meant for one to be a king of gluttony. Despite the hill of empty plates littering the table, Tang Wulin showed no sign of slowing down. This was no stomach, but a bottomless pit. It didn't bulge regardless of all the food he kept shoveling in. Furthermore, the change in his vigor was almost jarring. Upon arriving at the dining hall, Tang Wulin had struggled to sit upright. But with each bite, he grew more spirited, and in turn, his eating pace quickened. Table manners were nowhere to be seen. The table was a battlefield, and Tang Wulin was winning. Feng Wuyu finally understood why Tang Wulin had accepted him as his teacher once he agreed to pay his food expenses. Tang Wulin hadn't lied. Since working students needed to pay for their own meals, it would cost Tang Wulin an astronomical sum to feed himself. Can I really handle a disciple like him? By the time Tang Wulin's gorging reached the 40-minute mark, Feng Wuyu began to tremble. Tang Wulin had not slowed at all. On the other hand, Tang Wulin was having a blast. The highly nourishing food replenished his spent blood essence, leaving behind excess nutrition for his body to absorb, to use to stabilize itself after the arduous third seal breaking. Shrek Academy is great. If this was East Sea Academy, it would be impossible for me to eat such good food. Tang Wulin he stuffed himself to the beat of his musing. His feasting finally ended an hour later. The aftermath of his battle was clear for all to see. A mountain of plates lay before him so tall that he couldn't see Feng Wuyu on the other side. Do you always eat this much? Feng Wuyu asked, voice trembling as much as his heart. Tang Wulin choked back a cough. Today's special. Teacher, did I scare you? He rose from his seat and walked over to Feng Wuyu's side. On his face was the mask of a child who was afraid he had done wrong, and he peered up at Feng Wuyu with large watery eyes. You won't refuse to take me as your disciple just because I eat a lot, right? Feng Wuyu felt like he had a fish bone stuck in his throat. No matter what he said, he would be trapped. Teacher, you can be relieved. I don't normally eat this much, Tang Wulin said. Feng Wuyu let out a small sigh of relief. So this was all because of your breakthrough. MN. His next words, however, caused Feng Wuyu's expression freeze. I usually only eat about half as much. Of course, I'll eat more if I can. Tang Wulin beamed. Feng Wuyu's face began to twitch. Can you really digest all this food? Does this have something to do with your strange blood essence? Tang Wulin nodded. That's right. For me, eating food is another way to cultivate. You should be able to sense it, right? My blood essence is far stronger than other people's. I'm not sure why though. What I do know is that it can offer me a lot of strength and power similar to a soul ring's. My bloodline possesses the power of a dragon. At Tang Wulin's last words, Feng Wuyu's eyes narrowed. He gave a slight nod. Just as Tang Wulin had said, he could sense the abnormal strength of his student's blood essence. And he had clearly felt the golden soul ring's might when it had materialized, comparable to that of a peak existence. It also helped that Feng Wuyu's martial soul was the blazing fire dragon, with his title, Blazing Dragon, taking a bite out of that. He and another powerhouse in Shrek Academy with a dragon martial soul were famed as the Holy Twin Dragons. The blazing fire dragon was of the true dragon bloodline and stood at the peak of fire attribute martial souls. As such, he could feel the draconic might emanating from Tang Wulin's bloodline, calling out to his own, even though they were nothing alike. Yet if not for the gap in their soul power ranks, Feng Wuyu was certain that he would experience some martial soul suppression from Tang Wulin. Simply put, Tang Wulin's bloodline came from a terrifying soul beast. Eat, eat. If you think you can, then eat all my money away. Feng Wuyu snorted. Teacher, how long have I been cultivating? Judging from the color of the sky, could I have missed a day of class? Tang Wulin asked. 1 day? That's funny. You've already missed 3 days of school. But don't worry, I requested a leave of absence for you. You can go explain yourself tomorrow. Now get going. Find me tomorrow afternoon so I can teach you forging. After saying this, Feng Wuyu could no longer bear the sight of the mountain of plates and ran out. 3 days? Tang Wulin sat back down, mouth gaping. I haven't even attended classes for 3 days yet. But I've already missed 3 classes? This is just. It wouldn't be so bad if he wasn't the class president, and he had skipped plenty of classes back at East Sea Academy. But he was the class president now, and everyone had their eyes on him. Just imagining how much he had missed in 3 days' worth of lectures drove him nervous. Oh no. I can't go back to rest right now. I need to find Teacher Wu first. I need to catch up on what I missed. Tang Wulin burst through the doors of the dining hall at lightning speed, but out in the cold evening air, he realized there was an error in his plan. Doesn't Teacher Wu live on Sea God's Island? I can't get there without someone taking me. Fortunately, soul communicators existed. Tang Wulin whipped out his communicator and dialed Wu Zhangkong's number. The call connected and he heard Wu Zhangkong's icy voice on the line. You done cultivating? MN, Teacher Wu, please let me explain myself. I was caught up in an extraordinary situation, so I don't need an explanation right now. Come to the inner court. I'll be waiting at the gate. Tell me when you get here. Wu Zhongkong hung up the call. Tang Wulin couldn't tell from Wu Zhongkong's voice what sort of mood he was in. Oh, whatever. If I get scolded, then I get scolded. Teacher Wu will probably empathize with me anyway. Not daring to keep Wu Zhongkong waiting any longer, Tang Wulin dashed toward the inner court, feet in a blur. Although he had been there once, the path was burned into his mind. As he zipped past buildings and the like, he could feel his body absorbing the nourishment he had consumed. His blood essence was more vigorous than when he had awakened. It was now like blood coursing through his veins instead of energy. It had a clear rhythm to its flow, bringing warmth to his body wherever it went. I may have used most of that spirit item's energy to break the third seal, but it was originally meant to boost my soul power. Well, my body has gotten a lot stronger after breaking it anyway. Even though my soul power rose above rank 30. I'm not sure how much higher it is now. Maybe around rank 32. Tang Wulin had finally made it out of the bottom of the pack. He rejoiced, tears practically streaming down his cheeks. Now that he had 3 soul rings, his soul power circulated throughout his body with more vigor than before, and the soul power within his dantian liquefied. This was a major power spike for him. Now, he had to use the mysterious heaven method to liquefy the rest of his soul power. Only then would his cultivation sit firmly at the 3-ring level. Tang Wulin didn't know what Feng Wuyu fed him, but it was definitely worth the 5 spirit refinings he promised. He had saved all the money he would have spent on getting the spirit items needed for the 3rd seal. Furthermore, according to old Tang, he now had until he was 16 to break the 4th seal. As he ran along the path toward the inner court, Tang Wulin felt invigorated by the cool night air. He now felt free, and his stomach digested his large dinner while he ran, so his entire body brimmed with energy. Even his soul power recovered rapidly under the influence of his blood essence. Wu Zhongkong stood waiting at the gates. His expression was as icy as usual, but something stirred in his eyes when he saw Tang Wulin. Before Tang Wulin could even call out to him, Wu Zhongkong appeared before him in a blur. He grabbed Tang Wulin's wrists and felt his pulse. 3 rings? Wu Zhongkong asked in astonishment. Tang Wulin nodded, his excitement clear as day. 3 soul rings was a dividing line for soul masters. Soul masters born with an innate soul power of 3 or less would generally never overcome the wall that was obtaining 3 rings. Most would spend their entire lives withering away as 2-ringed soul masters. Additionally, one could only call themselves a true soul master upon reaching the 3-ring level. What did you do? Wu Zhongkong asked. Elder Feng fed me some treasured spirit item and then helped warm my meridians. After that, I broke through. Why did he do that? Wu Zhongkong asked. He wanted me to learn blacksmithing from him and start practicing spirit refining, but I needed to reach rank 30 before I could. Wu Zhongkong stared at Tang Wulin blankly for a moment. So that's how it is. What spirit item did you eat? This question left Tang Wulin stupefied. That's right. I have no idea what Elder Feng fed me. I forgot. Tang Wulin gave him a troubled smile. Come in first. Wu Zhongkong turned around and walked into the inner court. Tang Wulin hastened to follow. Once they arrived at the shore of Sea God's Lake, a boat floated over to receive them. It was Tang Wulin's 2nd time coming to this lake, yet the sight of moonlight reflecting off of the limpid lake water and the refreshing breeze set his heart at ease. The scene brought him joy, and the loneliness, stress, and depression from his last few years of cultivation were wiped away in an instant. His heart felt unburdened here. Sensing the change in his student, Wu Zhongkong turned to see Tang Wulin, eyes closed and breathing the air in deeply. Instead of disturbing his student, he simply waited. 10 minutes later, Tang Wulin opened his eyes. This place is really beautiful. I definitely need to make it into the inner court. I'll be able to come here if I do, right? Wu Zhongkong nodded. Yes, now get in the boat. Tang Wulin followed Wu Zhongkong aboard the boat. With a wave of Wu Zhongkong's hand, a breeze began pushing them straight toward Sea God's Island. The boat gently cut through the water, its passing current seemingly filled with life as though it were blood coursing through a vein. Tang Wulin stood at the bow of the ship. He felt free and content, basking in the moist evening breeze. Teacher Wu, my bloodline's power improved again. The process took a long time, so I was absent from class, Tang Wulin said. Your bloodline improved again. Wu Zhongkong stared at Tang Wulin in shock. Tang Wulin took in a deep breath then punched the empty space before him. The air exploded with an audible bang, the force rebounding from the punch and causing the boat to sway. Wu Zhongkong clearly sensed that Tang Wulin's punch had created a 2-meter shockwave. Tang Wulin wasn't using Golden Dragon body right now. That power had come from the strength of his body alone. He was just as surprised as Wu Zhongkong. My strength has increased by about 50%. If I summon my golden scales, I should be able to exert over 5,000 kilograms worth of force. Then, if I add on the power-up from Golden Dragon Body, a single one of my punches would be as powerful as a soul skill. As Tang Wulin thought about the possibilities, his eyes full of excitement, Wu Zhangkong's face grew pensive. It looks like your bloodline is improving in a good direction. Was this quick evolution caused by that spirit item Feng Wu gave you? What price did he have you pay? I owe him 5 spirit refinings. Once I'm able to spirit refine, the first 5 successful products will be his as payment. That's definitely worth it, Wu Zhongkong said. Tang Wulin scratched his head in embarrassment. Elder Feng originally wanted 10 spirit refinings, but I didn't agree, so he lowered it to 5. Wu Zhongkong stared at Tang Wulin in shock. Just refining your meridians is worth more than that. Elder Feng's martial soul is the blazing fire dragon, so his control over fire is extremely precise. With his current cultivation level, he can purify meridians with his flame, and it'll be like having your muscles and bones completely cleansed. However, doing this is very exhausting for him and consumes the source energy of his martial soul. He rarely offers to do this for anyone. Do you have any idea what it costs to get him to do this for someone? This sudden question took Tang Wulin by surprise. There's a price on it. Wu Zhongkong nodded. It costs 10 million contribution points. Huh? Tang Wulin gaped. 10 million? 10 million contribution points. Wu Zhongkong Isis expression thawed into a gentle, rarely seen smile. Don't let the price scare you. Elder Feng set it so high because he didn't want to help just anyone refine their meridians. The fact that he offered to do it for you shows just how much he values you. I understand, Tang Wulin said, warmth blossoming in his heart. Tang Wulin originally felt apprehension toward Feng Wu. After all, the crazy old man had abducted him in their first encounter, so he had only wanted to avoid him. Only the heavens knew what sort of crazy things the madman would do. However, as Tang Wulin spent more time with him, Feng Wu agreed to cover his meals, lowered the price from 10 spirit refinings to 5, and had now refined his meridians. Each time, Tang Wulin warmed up to the crazy old man even more. Some things didn't need to be said aloud, and in Tang Wulin's heart, he had already fully accepted Feng Wu as his 4th teacher. He was the type to treat every one of his teachers like a lord for the rest of his life. As they approached the island, the boat slowed down and came to a stop just short of the shore. The two of them disembarked, and Wu Zhongkong led Tang Wulin along the path they took last time. Teacher, are we going to Grand Teacher's place? Tang Wulin asked quietly. In his mind, Sea God's Island was a sacred land, so it would be disrespectful to shout in such a place. Your Grand Teacher said to come back after a week. Did you forget already? Tang Wulin really had forgotten. Ever since he came to Shrek Academy, his days had been packed with new experiences and constant cultivating. He had forgotten such an important matter amidst all the hustle and bustle. It's a good thing Teacher Wu reminded me. Arriving at the small house, Tang Wulin and Wu Zhongkong saw that the lights were on. They entered the living room, but no one was there to receive them. Wait here, Wu Zhongkong pointed to a chair, then headed for the stairs. I'm going to find Teacher. Despite Wu Zhongkong's directions, Tang Wulin chose to remain standing. After a short period of waiting, Wu Zhongkong returned with Shuosha. Seeing Tang Wulin, Shuosha's eyes lit up and he rushed over to his grand disciple. Only, something seemed different. His eyes narrowed as he stared at the boy intently. Grand Teacher? Tang Wulin said respectfully. Shuosha raised a hand, silencing him. A moment later, his stern expression changed into surprise. Your blood essence improved so much in just a week. What happened? You had a breakthrough, right? Yes, that's right, said Tang Wulin. The food here is very nourishing. After eating a lot, I discovered that it improves my blood essence. Eating is basically a way for me to cultivate my blood essence. Silence descended as Shuosha stood there in shock. He eats to cultivate? I know we're famous for raising monsters here at Shrek, but I've never heard of anything like this before. Food-type soul masters can cultivate by eating, but it's their soul power that improves, not their blood essence. Generally, richer blood essence strengthened the body so that it was more suitable for cultivation. However, Tang Wulin's ridiculously vigorous blood essence had reached the level of becoming a part of his strength. His miraculous eating cultivation method was definitely one of the strangest cultivation methods at Shrek Academy. Tang Wulin continued to recount his experiences in the past week. When he reached the part about accepting Feng Wuyu as his teacher, Shuoisha's eyebrows twitched in alarm. However, immersed in his own story, Tang Wulin did not notice. It took him a full half-hour to summarize his entire week. Not bad. You've broken through very quickly, so you can try spirit refining now and truly become a 5th-rank blacksmith. Keep up the good work. After saying this, Shuoisha turned around and went back upstairs. That's it? Tang Wulin stood there with a blank expression. He had expected advice from his grand teacher, but his expectations shattered in the face of reality. To the side, Wu Zhongkong frowned. Teacher Wu, grand teacher, Tang Wulin cast doubtful eyes at Wu Zhongkong. Wu Zhongkong only shook his head and said, "Follow me. I'll help you catch up on what you missed in class so you can resume class without any issues tomorrow." Okay. Tang Wulin followed Wu Zhongkong to his room. Shrek Academy's teachers covered material at a punishing pace. Missing even a single class would put someone far behind their peers. One of Tang Wulin's goals today conveniently happened to be catching up on the lectures. Once Shuoisha arrived on the second floor, his calm expression finally cracked. Fury blazed into life within his eyes as he ran into his room, whipped out his soul communicator, and rapidly dialed a number. "What do you want?" "If it's nothing, I'm hanging up," answered an impatient voice. "If you dare hang up, then I'll destroy your house," Shuoisha yelled. "What crawled up your ass and died?" the person replied angrily. "Feng Wu, you old bastard. When did I give you permission to take Tang Wulin as your disciple?" Shuoisha spat out in rage. "Why do I need your permission?" Feng Wu said in disdain. Shuoisha snorted. "Tang Wulin is my granddisciple. What do you have to say now? You're his grand teacher?" Feng Wu asked in shock. "Bullshit. Stop lying. I already checked, he's from East Sea City. How could you possibly be his grand teacher?" "My disciple, Wu Zhongkong, taught Tang Wulin at East Sea City. You got anything to say now?" "Wu Zhongkong? The one you cut off ties with?" "I was just letting him get some experience outside." "Who said I cut off ties with him? He brought back wonderful students to pay respects to me this time, you know." "Explain your actions." "Explain my ass. You're just conveniently his grand teacher whenever you want, huh? What have you given him? What have you taught him? You tell me you didn't refuse to eat for half a month after that disciple of yours left. Stop bullshitting me." Feng Wu didn't budge at all. "You? Fine, have it your way. Let's fight. Whoever wins gets to be his teacher," shouted Shuoisha. "As if. You can fight all by yourself. Why should I bother? He's already taken me as his teacher and I've given him benefits. Just try to get him to back out, I won't lift a single finger if he does. He'll just become infamous as someone who turns his back on his teachers then." Feng Wu hung up after leaving these words. Shuoisha held the communicator to his ear, stunned at the droning dial tone of an ended call. Then he threw it on the floor and stomped, raging, "Bastard! That old bastard! How shameless can he be?" Meanwhile, Feng Wu was roaring with laughter. He had been meditating when the call came in, but now he was dancing with joy. "I didn't expect I could infuriate that old bastard Shuoisha just by accepting this disciple of mine. Ha! I'm so happy I could die. Hooray for my disciple. Ha ha ha. Shuoisha, you old bastard, you're always bullying me, but this time you can't do anything." Unaware of the commotion he had caused, Tang Wulin spent the night catching up on the content he missed with Wu Zhongkong. With his teacher's permission, Tang Wulin didn't return to the dormitory and remained within the room to meditate. Minutes before the break of dawn the next morning, Tang Wulin woke up to Wu Zhongkong's call. Together, the teacher and student went outside and looked towards the east, waiting for the rising sun to practice the purple demon eyes. As the last hints of purple clouds vanished over the horizon and they finished practicing their purple demon eyes, Tang Wulin asked, "Teacher Wu, where's the Tang sect branch in Shrek City? Shouldn't I go with Xie Xie and Xu Xiaoyan to report? It's in Shrek Inner City and is actually very close to the campus. I'll bring you 3 later." "Oh, okay." Tang Wulin's stomach growled at that moment. He looked up at Wu Zhongkong in embarrassment. "Teacher, can I go back to the outer court to eat breakfast? Just stay here to eat." "But stammered Tang Wulin. "But I think my appetite is bigger than before. Teacher will be able to provide you with 1 meal at least. Come on, let's go." They turned around and made their way back to the house. Shuosha was outside, casually waving to them as he did his morning exercises. "Teacher? Grand Teacher." Wu Zhongkong and Tang Wulin respectfully greeted Shuosha. Shuosha glanced at them. "Tang Wulin, come here." "Yes." Tang Wulin walked over. "Watch carefully," said Shuosha. He slowly raised his right hand, circling it in front of him before pushing outward. His actions were utterly simple. If observed from afar, it would seem like he was just an ordinary old man doing his morning exercises. Yet, Tang Wulin couldn't see anything except for this move. When Shuosha had raised his right hand and drawn a circle with it, Tang Wulin had, for a split second, thought that his grand teacher had become the very center of the world. A dragon's roar resonated from deep within himself and his blood essence frantically surged through his body in response. His mind shuddered and his vision went blurry. It was as if a dragon within him roared at the sky and shocked the heavens. In Tang Wulin's eyes, the moment Shuosha thrust his palm out, a crimson-scaled dragon filled with terrifying majesty and tyrannical blood essence rushed out. The world trembled before its might. The air in front of the palm rent apart and revealed darkness, as if space itself had been torn. The surrounding space continued to tremble for a few minutes. When it finally faded away, so too did the darkness in Tang Wulin's vision. Everything returned to normal. You can use the power of your bloodline like this. Go back and comprehend it. This move is called Dragon Shocks the Heavens. My martial soul is the Scarlet Armored Dragon, so when I use it, the move is called Scarlet Dragon Shocks the Heavens. After saying this, Shuosha turned around and entered the house. Tang Wulin stood frozen, completely unresponsive to his words. He raised his palm in a dazed manner, his body swaying slightly as he copied Shuosha's actions. Golden light flashed around his body from time to time. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.